can support you with when it comes to your spaces. The second one is if Twitter basically joins your space. So for example, Gambo is coming out with a single and he wants to do a space to talk about the single. We can have Twitter Music sit in the space as a silent speaker. Sometimes people wonder, oh, but is that enough? Why are they not talking? But when you go on your Twitter and you open your Twitter, you realize that at the top, you would see all the spaces that are happening, or the spaces that a lot of people are in at the time. If Twitter Music sits in your space as a silent speaker, there's a probability that majority or 90% of the people who follow Twitter Music anywhere in the world will see that there's a space about Gambo on their timeline. Now, this person can be sitting in Croatia and be curious to why Twitter Music is sitting in a space or is a speaker in a space with a guy called Gambo. And by them coming into that space, they get introduced to Gambo. So even before I continue, in Twitter, my strategy is called the Africa to the World strategy. Everything we are doing here is to make sure that Twitter, Africa or Ghana or Nigeria is heard on a global front. So if it doesn't push us beyond this border, I'm basically not touching it. So that is an example. Make sure that always Twitter Music sits in the spaces of these people that we support. You might have seen it happen in quite a number of our artists' rollouts. So that's another one. We also have the Spaces Boost. That one is pretty simple. You send us the link to the space. We will just put a budget behind it and promote it like an ad so that everybody on the timeline will just see that there's a space happening. And the budget is from us. You don't have to bother about that. We'll just promote it for you. And then lastly, Twitter Music can simply retweet or quote tweets or like it, and it just allows more people to see your space. Also, Twitter Ghana does that. We have Twitter Ghana available to support any artist rollout. Now, on the screen, I'm sure you guys have seen this before. And people, I was on the airport last week and I met Camido. He was like, yo, bro, like that thing that has the hashtag, like it's so cool. And I'm like, oh, yeah. I mean, I'm in touch with George Britton and we have plans for it for your next release. So don't worry, your team is on it. Now, this is what we call a hashmoji. A hashmoji is, I mean, we're all familiar with hashtags. Hashtags are basically used to track conversations. Now, what a hashmoji does is it puts a visual beside the hashtag. And I'll tell you for a fact that a hashmoji in the US, or if a corporate organization wants a hashmoji, it costs $100,000. But for VITs, for public figures, we provide a hashmoji for free because we want to help them amplify their conversations. So it's a very expensive piece of, I don't know, gimmick, but it brings a lot of results. And I'm sure the VGMA can testify. Because by us using the hashmoji for the VGMA, at the end of the day, when we checked our reports, we basically doubled conversations from the previous year. Now, why is it doubling conversations? You using a hashtag, and you using a hashtag that pops up with a visual, with the visual, it's more exciting. And also, it's more visible. People see it on the timeline and now want to use it. So during the night of the VGMA, instead of people just using a normal hashtag, they see that every time they use the hashtag, a star pops up. So it made them want to use it more, and that basically drove the engagement to a higher level. So that is what hashmojis do. We did it for Son of Jacob, Kwesi Arthur, Victoni, Burna Boy. And I mean, a lot of the times, you can even tell us what strategy. Like, I remember when we submitted Burna Boy's on, everyone was asking, why is there a heart? Even the guys who were supposed to program it were like, what visual is that? It's not nice. You need to send us something more related to Burna Boy. And we told them that, we've had a strategy conversation with their team, and he's about to release an album called Love Damini. So at the end of every song on that album, he's going to sign off with Love Damini. And that heart with the D in it is basically representing Love Damini. So after his show at Madison Square Garden, then he announced Love Damini, and then everything started making sense now. So, I mean, we are open to listening to the strategy. We are open to tweaking things to make sure that it works well. Most of the time, I'll guide you to even arrive at a very good visual. So you provide me with a visual, I program it. It's as simple as that. Next. So yeah, that's just basically what it is. It increases attention, it drives interest, it makes you stand out, and it builds some emotional connection with the people using it. It's been tried and tested with Adele, with very, very big superstars. So I think everybody needs to leverage on this opportunity for their rollout. We also have another one called Fan Tweets. Fan Tweets is what I call partner exclusive activations. We reserve it for very, very big VITs. So far in Africa, we've done it for, I think Davido is the first Fan Tweets. Basically what we do is we pick up tweets that the fans have posted, and then we let the VIT or the public figure read out those tweets on video. And once again, Twitter Music is the one basically curating it. So they would promote it, they will put it on their page, they will tag all the fans that they read their tweets, they will pay for the production. And we normally do it when you're about to release something big. So for example, we released this on the day Burna Boy was doing his Madison Square show. So yeah, it's available, but we keep this for like very, very big VITs. And yeah, it basically inspires even the upcoming ones to want to have a fan tweet one day. I don't know if the link can be clicked. I don't know, the operation guys. If you click the link, we'll be able to watch the fan tweets. If not, I could just move on to the next slide. No, it's fine. If it doesn't work, we just move on to the next slide. You can just go on Twitter, do hashtag fan tweets Burna Boy, you'd find the video. Next slide. So you can skip to the next. Is it frozen?
Okay, Bernard, please move on. I hear it's frozen, so please continue.
All right. Oh, no, I just wanted to share. Okay, so we have another partner exclusive called Behind the Tweets. Behind the Tweets is basically picking up old tweets of a public figure, would ask them questions that why did you tweet this, and then they'll basically explain the thinking or the rationale behind why they tweeted it. A lot of times people want to understand why their biggest celebrity tweeted some things. And that once again, we do that when we do that production when you're about to release something big. We've done behind the tweets for Davido. Yeah, so so Davido we've done it for. I'm yet to do one with any Ghanaian artist, and I'm happy to work with some of the best out here to put out the first Ghanaian behind the tweets. All right, next slide. Once again, you can go on Twitter, hashtag behind the tweets, and you can put in, you'll see a lot of videos. We also have, this is actually made just for public figures. It is like a Twitter app, but it's made specifically for Q&As. So you know how sometimes you want to do a Q&A with your artist, but it's all scattered on the timeline because lots of tweets, you have to respond to multiple tweets, and you're losing some of them because the mentions are just too many. What the VIT app does is that it streamlines all the tweets into one place. So we would help you download the app, we would help you set it up, and basically when you start the Q&A, all the questions that are asked are going to come straight into that. So you'll be responding to it like a chat, and it will be popping up in a thread-like form. So it makes Q&As very easy. I have not actually used this in Ghana yet. I almost used it with Kwame Eugene and Kidi, but I think they overslept that day, so I couldn't do it. But I'm happy to kickstart this with any of your artists. This is something that I think every manager or A&R or artist manager should have, so that you can always get your artists to interact with the people online. And this is available. This is not like exclusive to how big you are or how engaging you are, but if you're interested, I could help you set it up once you're about to release maybe a single or an album or anything very big. Next slide. Okay, so this is my favorite. It's called the Blue Zone. It's actually one of the things that I set up here for Africa. So when we first tested it at the VGMA, we've not done it anywhere else, but I'm looking to start doing this for album releases, listening sessions, or actual physical events. So it's basically like a red carpet experience. We set up a booth there. We have the booth now, so we'll just set it up for you. And then what happens is that you interview all the public figures that show up at the event. We shoot the video like right there and then real time. We chop the video into short videos like 15 seconds, 30 seconds, and then we give it to you to post. Now when you post, and then we boost it. So we basically shoot, you post, and then we boost it for you. So it's like we are helping you and enabling you create content for the timeline, and then we will put a budget behind it to amplify it. We did it for the VGMA, it was very successful. We had a lot of engagement, and people were super excited to see their favorite celebrities, address them, and talk to them, and basically have content out there about them. Next slide, please. Yes, now we have this, what we call the events page. I'm sure if you search your trends, you open the trends list now, there might be something like that there. At the moment, this morning when I checked, there was Real Housewives of Lagos. So we create this. Even on the VGMA nights, we created a VGMA one. Last week, we created one for the Dortmund game in Ghana. So, but this is reserved for like very big events. If your event drives a lot of traction, we can see on our back end, and we'll be able to justify whether we should commit to a resource like this. But what this does is basically an event page that aggregates all trending content. So all the conversations about your event come into that page. All the top posts, all influencers that are talking about your event comes into that page. Now, when people are looking for trends and they go there and they see the visual, they click on it and then they end up seeing all the conversations that are happening on the page. And then what that does is that it easily makes you trend, because then now people are finding all the info in one place. It was one of the, it also helped with, I mean, VGMA always trends, but I think it trended faster because of the event page, because then people were finding everything in one place. So this is another thing too that we can do. Now, verification. People have so many questions about verification, and I want to use this platform to address it. I'll first say that verification has nothing to do with followers. You can have one follower and be verified. And because verification is more about notability. Sometimes when people come to me and they say, oh, you want to be verified, I'm like, Google yourself. When you Google yourself and you see a lot of how do you call it, results that pop up, news articles, then you know you should be verified. There was a time the whole timeline was on my neck because I assisted Ajia Bintu to get verified. And people were saying, oh, she's not a celebrity, oh, she's not a celebrity. But the thing is, she actually is a public figure. She's a celebrity. She came to us showing us proof of about 15 accounts saying they are Ajia Bintu. People using her account to fraudulently, to defraud people. So we had to give her a badge to basically make her stand out from the rest. So, a lot of artists in this room that I assisted them in getting their badges. And it is something that, the badge basically, apart from making you stand out, it allows you to, I have evidence of like artists who have used their badge to contact big American artists and have gotten a response. Because if you enter the DM of, let's say, T-Pain, and you don't have a badge, it's likely that he might not respond to you. But when you have a badge, he'll respond to you. So it helps you stand out. It prevents people from using you, impersonating you. So it's a sign of credibility and authenticity. Like I said, it has nothing to do with followers. If you launch a label today and you have an artist that has press articles, send it to me. We would help the artist get verified with even one follower. Yes, like I said, press articles are very important. You need to run a lot of PR with your artist. They should Google them and immediately see them in the news. I can mention some really good sites that can help you get verified. And these are Alexa rank sites. Ghana Web is one, My Joy Online, CTFM Online, yen.com, Modern Ghana, News in Ghana. There's just a lot of them. And Aldebra, those sites are sites that are recognized globally. So if you are doing PR for your artists, make sure that they are on these very good sites. Pulse is an amazing site too. Both Nigeria, Ghana, it's a good site. So make sure you invest a lot in PR. So when you Google your artists, you can't come to me and say you're famous and you want to be verified, but you've not done even a single press article. I can only guide you, but if you submit the articles, they might be rejected because they are not out there in the news. Also, yes, I don't give the badges. I guide the people to submit it and they get it. The most I can do from here is to stand in and vouch for you and say, this person is renowned, so you should give them a badge, and then they would give them a badge. Also, a lot of people get hacked, and because the moment these days, there's been a lot of hacking issues. The moment you get a badge, you get an automated email that would say, if you don't submit this, your badge will get lost. If the email is not from twitter.com, do not respond, because they'll just take your details and hack into you. Also, when you get a badge, don't try and change your username. When you do, you would lose the badge. You can always get a badge back if you contact me, but just don't try and change the username. And also, there's so many Twitter rules, which you can Google it, but there's so many Twitter rules that you should avoid violating, or you could lose your badge or could get suspended. Suspension is like one of the biggest things that happen to artists. Every now and then, they'll contact you and say, oh, they've been suspended, and then I have to step in and find a way to get you out. Copyright is the biggest cause of suspension. And it's very dependent on how the level of your copyright offense. I don't know the technical details, but they call them strikes. The number of strikes you get on your copyright shows whether you're going to get your account back or not. Sometimes we get people's account back because they have a few strikes, but some people have so many copyright strikes that you lose the account forever. And preventing copyright content is basically watching the kind of things you repost. Most of the time, like American musicians' content, or any content that is tied to a label as big as maybe Atlantic, Universal, Warner, you just need to be very careful or your page will be taken down. So be very careful with copyright. Yeah, next slide. So yeah, I offer general support too, apart from helping with your rollout and your strategy, things like suspension, hacked accounts. A lot of people get hacked, and it's very terrible because when you're hacked, they'll use your page to do all kinds of things. You can contact me, I can help you get your hacked account back. If you log out of your account, it happens a lot too, when people they lose their phone numbers and they're not able to get the notification code, I could help you get it back. And also, if you have, let's say, a username, like for example, I think I did that for Familia recently. I'm not sure, but let's say John Dumelo was John Dumelo 1 or something, and then he wanted the actual John Dumelo. If it's available, I can help you get it back. Or I can help you swap the name to John Dumelo or to whatever you want it to be. Because sometimes when you're trying to get an account name, it's taken and you have to add some numbers to your handle, and it just doesn't tell exactly who you are. So I'm able to assist with that. I think that's about it. Yeah, so let's partner. Contact me, bsogbe@twitter.com. Shoot me an email. I just also want to say, and it's not to compare Ghana with Nigeria, but what the Nigerians basically do is, and I visited them recently, is they have a superstructure with regards to their music. They come to you with a roadmap for the entire year, how many artists they want support for, when the album is being released. It makes the work too easier because then, like as I sit here, I know MI's album is coming out. We basically have a plan for all of them. A lot of Ghanaian artists, and I understand the industry is still growing, but I'm here to help and assist. They come like on and off, like, hey, like my song is coming out tomorrow, can you support me with this? But come, let's have a conversation. Let's see how we can support you for the entire year. I know at the moment it's just me. We're looking to expand and get more people here to support partnerships. So, come, let's have a conversation. If I can't handle it myself, someone in another market might be able to support the rollout of whatever you're doing. But basically, let's have a roadmap, and then let's kick some. All right, thank you.
Bernard, so it's good you mentioned the badge. How come I'm not verified? I mean, can you imagine? I've submitted it on countless occasions, yet they don't tell me anything. No emails, nothing. What could be the cause? Please, I'm taking just a few questions for Bernard. Thank you.
So there are 3 levels of support in Twitter, and there's, first, second, obviously, and third. First level support is the usual person. You submit it, go through a long process. So many support people will go through it, and it might be lost under the radar, and if it stays too long in the system, it might just come back rejected. So that's why I'm here, basically. So we can take it offline, and we can assist you get verified. I'm sure if I Google you right now, I'll find a lot of Andidosi out there, and we can submit it and get it verified.
Right, thank you very much. Is there any question? All right, thank you. There are musicians around, so.
Are you sure you don't have questions? Because I get a million DMs asking questions. So if you have any questions about
Twitter.
Twitter.
All right, so Gambo is coming forward. Yes.
Hi, my name is Gambo, and I'm actually one of the
Gambo,
artists.
please speak up.
My name is Gambo, and I'm actually one of the artists that he helped in getting verification. But you made mention that if, let's say, John Dumelo wants to change his handle from John Dumelo 1 to Dumelo, it's possible for it to happen. So I wanted to know if for now, I'm Gambo_II on Twitter. And I want to change it to Gambo, but there's a Gambo on Twitter that's inactive for like 10 years now. And you also made mention if you're changing your username, you lose the badge. So if I'm to do the change, would I have to notify you first before it's done? Or?
Yeah, so once I check on the actual Gambo, you said yourself that it's been inactive for 10 years. I think if it's inactive for even 3 years, we could switch it. So when I check and it's inactive, I could submit it to the team, the support team, and they can do a swap for you. What was the second question again?
The second question is, you said if you're to change your username.
Yeah, so I can help you. You have to contact me, basically. If you try and do it yourself, you lose the badge. Yeah, but anytime you lose the badge, so you can send me an email, and then, or DM me. I mean, I work with DM too, so DM me, send me an email. Those who have my WhatsApp, just send me a WhatsApp, and then I would assist you. Sometimes there are a lot of requests, and I might be slow in responding, but I would always, who is it? Kwabna Kevin is here. He sends me requests and he thinks I've forgotten, but like he'll be there a week later. I just work on it. So I'm here to serve you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, Brian Wester. You talk about contact me. Do you have an office we can walk into, an email? How do we get to you?
Okay, so at the moment, Twitter is working remotely on the continent. We have about 17 Twitter employees in Ghana, if you didn't know, doing different things like the event page, the curation team. You can contact me via DM. You can contact me through my email that I shared. And if you have my phone number, which you can take from me, you can contact me through that way. We don't have an office yet, but we are working on getting an office before the year ends. And the office will be open for public figures to walk in, and even we could help them create content and curate activities that they want to do.
Please, my second question. I just want to ask, you speak about events, but I didn't get a lot around it. You were talking about major events. So when you say major events, what do you mean? A lot of events I hear, they are major. They end up coming to be Accra events. Then again, if whatever Twitter is offering, is there a fee attached to it, or is just for free for everybody who is able to approach you and able to go through whatever criteria you've put down?
Okay, no, so there's no fee. I'm here to support for free, actually. There's no fee attached with anything that I do for public figures here. I'm basically responsible for all public figures in news, sports, and entertainment. So any support with Twitter, I can assist you. Your first question was events. We can tell an event is major based on the conversations on the platform. That is not my team, but I can pull out data to tell that, hey, this event generates this level of conversation and always trends. So we are going to help them amplify it and take it to the next level. And that's the reason we work with VGMA. VGMA always trends so much that it even seeps into Nigeria and beyond. So, and that's a good example, Real Housewives of Lagos. Those are some of the events. Big Brother Nigeria is like the gold of conversations online. Those are things that are no-brainers. But doesn't mean that we neglect small events. Like I said, we can support small events maybe through Twitter Spaces, helping amplify it, or even setting up a physical blue zone at your event to help you create content that we can boost for you. So based on all these things that I've shared, the list is endless, actually. Sometimes people come to us with really creative ideas. Someone says they want a billboard and they want to put a tweet on a billboard. There are options to do things like that. But, the easy, organic options are the ones that happen on the timeline. That is the Twitter Spaces. Those are like amazing ways for you to get quick results. Because if I have to do a blue zone at your event, it could take a while for me to create with you, build it, set up, all those things. But a Twitter Space, we could just give me 24, 48 hours. We could have Twitter Music Amplifier, Twitter Sports, whatever it is, to help your space on the timeline. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Bernard. We're so grateful for your time. Shall we hear it one more time for Bernard Sokwe? Thank you. Nice. At this point, okay. Here, on the bill or on the lineup, at this time, we discuss the road or the route to success. Because of time, I have to speed up so we can finish here and leave. Well, let me invite Media General Group Manager, General Manager for 3 Group, Mr. Francis Doku. Francis, please. Thank you very much. George Britton is CEO, GB Records. George, thank you very much. Please join me up on stage. Mr. David Che, popularly known as Kewa, is CEO, Highly Spiritual Music. Kofi Beat Menes is record producer and creative entrepreneur. Minim di onwa. Kofi, unwa de. Aso ye entrepreneur. Unwa de mu. Right. We were supposed to be joined by Munya Chanetsa and Richie Mensa. Unfortunately, they couldn't join us. Right. So they may join us via Zoom. They may join us online. Right. Please. Thank you. Right. So, these can I please have microphones for my representatives? Thank you. Here, this conversation will be very much engaging, and so I will need your presence. Right. Pretty soon, musicians or award winners. Oh, wait to me. Thank you. Andy Dusty.
Oh, Lord of mercy.
Ladies.
P on the beat. I said, don't be greedy. Sugar me on my babe. And if you want this money, oh, come on and wind your waist. I said, don't be greedy. Sugar me, oh, my baby, oh. And if you want this money, oh, come on and wind your waist. Throw 1K for your back, eh. No coin for your back, oh. You go throw 2K for your back, eh. No coin for your back, oh.
A man in the AP, then the claim block. iPhone X, you go pay boss. Ghana girls now, then be dangerous. Dangerous. I take Amanda to ASOS. Give you 1.2 for the makeup. Back I make a boca, J-Sauce. If you ginger my cocoa, I go salt to your Prada. And your Gucci, your Dolce and Gabbana. If you ginger my cocoa, I go salt to your Prada. And so ginger me, my baby.
I said, don't be greedy. Sugar me on my babe. And if you want this money, oh, come on and wind your waist. I said, don't be greedy. Sugar me on my baby, oh. And if you want this money, oh, come on and wind your waist. Throw 1K for your back, no coin for your back, oh.
All right, thank you very much. At least Chatta should have paid me to perform that. Yeah. 1K. I'm not asking you to play it again. Right. Thank you. Okay, so here, this conversation will be very much engaging. And so the microphones are very, very active. And I would ask you all to be extremely indulging or participating in this. Again, let me also say that we have award winners of the VGMAs, and plaques will be presented pretty soon. And so musicians, although they received the dummies on the stage, tonight they're picking out the plaques. They're picking them up today. Right, thank you very much. So here, Francis, George, David, and Kofi, Kiwa. We're discussing the route to success. So let me start with you, Francis. What is success? First of all, what does it look like to be successful?
Well, I think there are different ways that one can say they're successful. First of all, if you set a goal on an objective and you're able to achieve it or exceed that objective, then I think that it could be said that you've been successful. Secondly, also, maybe you don't even have an objective, but to your surprise, you've reached a certain place that you probably didn't expect that you'd be there. I think that is successful. But maybe if we're going to properly situate it within the conversation of music or art or creative art, then I believe that to be successful, for instance, as a musician, is to be spoken about by many people beyond your small circle, or that your music would be either patronized as listened to or bought by many people, or to be seen to have maybe arrived. For instance, if you have struggled for a long time as an underground musician, and suddenly you are the toast of many, then I believe that we can say that you're successful. So just to sum it up, set an objective, exceed that, or be surprised by something you didn't expect to have been, or have your music patronized by many. I think that once your name comes up, then you can say that for that period you're a successful person.
Right. Thank you very much. George, you are an artist manager. You've managed musicians. What does it take to be a successful musician, or what does it look like? If one can say, I am a successful musician.
I think first and foremost, you will have to, like you said, set goals and achieve the goals that you set before you can call yourself a successful musician. But especially in our space here in Ghana, or in the world of music, for you to be successful is when you're topping charts, when your music is being played globally, when you are being booked for bigger concerts. So this falls under, you being successful. When you're controlling, what goes into, what's on the media. So I think this falls under you being a successful musician.
I'm asking this question because, well, we've all found or we've seen success. And again, with the theme, yes, the route to success. So, Kiwa, I will ask you the same question.
All right. Well, I've always maintained that the essence of opportunities is to build capacity and raise other people. And for me, that is success. If you are able to transcend what you have attained into other people, I believe you're successful. I don't believe it has anything to do with money or relevance. If you can raise other people, and maybe I can quote a certain scripture if you don't mind. All right, you see, God told Abraham that I will bless you so that you'll become a blessing to others. So until you are a blessing to others, you're not blessed. Then that is true success. And for me, that's my definition of success.
Amen? Thank you.
Amen.
Kofi, please take it away.
I think the whole concept of success is relative, because everyone would define success differently from others, and to speak about success in music specifically, especially in this part of the world, I'd like to believe that especially in this part of the world and during this digital era, that it should translate somehow to social capital, a number of people knowing what it is exactly an artist does, and hopefully that it translates into capital back to them. That's money, right? So it's relative. Everyone has to define what success means to them. For one artist, it might mean that they are selling out arenas in Ghana. For others is that they are able to do that and even do same outside of the borders of Ghana. For other artists, it might be the fact that they are not as known as many popular artists, but actually make more money by doing certain things, like being endorsed by big brands and companies and that sort of thing, or maybe them writing music for film or games, you understand? So, I mean, the industry is very diverse, so I guess the definition of success will vary
In
from
this
artist
case,
to artist.
in this case, in Ghana, can you name few artists who have succeeded, or does it mean every artist has succeeded?
Well, that's a slippery slope. Certainly not. Because I'm pretty sure, I mean, I work with lots of artists, okay? I've met quite a few artists who would, even despite the fact that, you know, they're relatively known, you can tell that, you know, their goals and aspirations have hardly been met. You know, there's always this grandiose idea, dream, or aspiration to achieve something specific. And there are lots of elements to it, especially in this day and age. You know, you have social media, consumer behavior is evolving, so is the media landscape. But you also need to thrive or practice in an enabling environment that can foster success. It's very, very important. I'll give you a classic example. Some of the very well-known artists in the major cities in Ghana are not as popular in other places in Ghana. I was sharing something with a friend of mine some time back. I was working on a particular project that had us monitor media, traditional media, so I'm talking FM stations specifically. And I know we all agree that we have a very high proliferation of foreign content, you know, in the media. So using some algorithms, we had to eliminate quite a few, not quite a few, more than a few actually, foreign content. And surprisingly, this was about 4 months ago, we realized that medical had a majority of its listenership on FM stations from Takoradi. And it amounted to more than 75% of people listening nationwide in Takoradi. So it's interesting because if you subtract 75% out of the 100% figure, the rest of the percentage was evenly or maybe sparsely distributed across various cities nationwide. And I found out to be really, I really thought that was very, it was shocking, first and foremost, and it was equally surprising because I don't think it's had like a major tour in Takoradi. You see, so we need to get to a place where, irrespective of diverse tastes and preferences for specific genres of music and specific artist works, we need to consolidate listenership nationwide so that we can have a more wholesome idea or picture of who is doing well in what areas and how. I don't know if what I'm saying makes sense. Yeah, so.
Right. So, to Kewa, you have picked artists from nowhere, and, well, we've heard them or we've seen them blow up. What would you say will be the ladder or the roadmap to get into that successful stage? Or there's no plan?
You said money.
Money.
Well, not only artists, but producers. I am very excited to always say that I am perhaps one of the producers in Ghana who have picked a lot of producers and brought them to where they are today. And artists also. I believe it's the passion. If you don't have passion for what you do, I mean, it is the hallmark, it's the beginning of everything. But minus passion, you cannot even attract the money you're looking for for that journey. And so I believe that you need to have the passion first, and then the passion will help you to move on to what exactly you want to do. And so for me, it's passion always. Yeah, I don't know if I've answered you.
George?
Same question.
See ya.
Of course, passion plays a role, but I think the dedication towards the career that you want to build for yourself is one. And usually it's, when you see an artist who was going to blow, I think from the beginning you can see from him or her, the attitude that they possess, the hunger in them, they're always willing to achieve. These people, it's easy to achieve success working with them. Yeah, there might be instances where, the person might not possess all these qualities, but, he grows into that space within time. And he or she, as an artist, needs to be ready for what he is for. And then again, I prefer to, when an artist says, I do music and music only, rather than I do music and other thing. Usually these questions are thrown to musicians. Oh, aside music, what else do you do? I prefer for him to say, I do music and music only, because if I was a medical doctor and I come for an interview, I'll not be asked that aside, you practicing medicine, what else do you do? I mean, when you, as an artist, if you believe yourself and you believe that this is what you do for a living, I'm sure you go 101% in everything that you do. And by doing so, the success that you seek, will come to you. Yeah.
But Francis, you have been in print, you've managed radio, you've managed TV, you've managed talents. Here, or at your office, or on your platforms, if anyone is to spring up, same question, would there be a roadmap to achieving success?
Well, I think that music and musicians, I suppose it's like any other product. There are certain rules that you have to follow to be able to take your product to where you want to take it to. And I assume, as George said, that first of all, you need to have that commitment to the craft. And you need to understand that this is what I want to do and this is what I am into, without looking sideways. Because I'm sure that if you look sideways, other things will be attractive to you and you want to follow that. So I think first of all is to understand that this is where I want to be. Music is what I want to do. And that you also have the talent, as it were. If you do not have music talent, maybe you're better off doing something else, being a music manager, or learn how to be a music manager or something. But first of all, you need to have the talent as a musician. I think the other thing that you also have to acknowledge is that you need to work with a team. Your talent is your talent. You may not have the ability to do other things, like maybe properly looking at how to market the product and all that. You need to have people who will work you to be able to do that. Because sometimes people take on that they can do everything by themselves. And I think that's a very difficult route to success than if you were to maybe hand some of the things that you should do to someone to take care of it for you. I think a third thing also is to look at how to market what you have created. If it is music, how to market it and how to market your personal brand. And it is those who work with you who can help you be able to. And it needs to be said that some of the things that we have seen in this market, having been here for a long time, is that sometimes some of the musicians treat the people they work with as if they are their boy, if you like. I think it's important to recognize the importance of the people who help you to do the work that you do, and let them work for you like they have to, work for you, without just being people that you send around, don't respect them when they give direction, and all that. I think these things help for you to be able to move to where you are. And maybe finally also is the fact that we need to understand the time in which we are. Every era, when the Deputy Minister was speaking, he mentioned the 70s, he mentioned the 80s, he mentioned the 90s and the 2000s. Every era and the kind of thing that worked there, the technology, if you like, and the system that works. There was a time when, Andy, you and I know that if you produce a song, you needed to find the right DJ and give him the song at a CD with a certain number of songs on it. And maybe even add a bit, as payola or something like that, to help push the song. That was at a certain time. It happens, I believe, now. But now there are other things also that work that may not have been working in the 90s, which is the social media and the internet. In fact, the internet and what it has created. Meister was here earlier talking about how we could use Twitter, to properly push our art. I think there are other ways as well. There's TikTok, there's Facebook, there are other platforms. What I'm saying is that it's important that the artists and the people who work with him understand the time and what platform, what system to use to be able to push their work, to push them to the next level. So it's just to say that first you need to have the talent, be committed to what you want to do as a musician, have a team that will help you be able to work around your work, not treat them like you treat people who you send around, and then also understand with your team the system that works and leverage that system to be able to push your work to the heights that you want it to. I think these are, in my view, the steps that will move you to where you want to be.
I have a lot of questions to ask, but in your submission, you made mention of Boy, and yeah. But there's an argument that friends and family run the music business instead of hiring professionals. What's your take on that? Instead of getting the right professionals, is it because we don't have enough money to acquire their services, or we're also thinking of protecting our turf?
Well, I think it's not bad if the brother or the uncle or the father or whoever understands the business of music. Because the fact is that every industry and what you need to know to properly play in that space. If the person who is managing you or you want to be part of your team understand the space and it's a relative, I don't think it should be wrong. But as much as possible, the point is to look at people who can help you reach the next stage. People who understand the business better than the one that you think is a relative, so you want to keep it close to the family. They may not properly understand the music industry or how things work in that industry. So I think that if they do, it shouldn't be wrong for you to rely on your father, your brother, your sister to help you be able to. But the underlying thing, in my view, is that the person must understand how music industry plays. I mean, if you're a footballer and you want to play in the biggest of leagues, you need to have an agent who understands how football business works. If that agent or the person is your relative, your brother, your father, it's fine. You can rely on them. But the underlying thing is, do they understand how the business of that particular industry plays? That, for me, should be the guide to choosing who would help you to get to the next stage.
George?
Yes, of course. If I have a younger brother who wants to do music, and of course, he knows George is also his big brother is in the industry, helping him will not be difficult. Each one of us want to work with the people who are very close to us and who understands us. In our space, most people are a bit scared to approach the professionals as a brother at home, because what it is that the very moment that you come into the spotlight, your career is now defined, and you need to also apply a lot more than just he's my brother, he's this and that. That's how come I think mostly we see a lot of artists grow, and whilst you are growing, the team that you grow with, usually you see some of the team members fall off because they get to a time where the artist's hunger and his reach becomes much bigger than the team or the people that he started with. So I believe that yes, you can start with your relatives at home, but then whoever amongst the team that you start with who wants to equally grow needs to always be ahead of you, the artist, because especially in this modern age where science and data and everything is happening, you as a manager or you as a close relative who is helping this artist, you need to be upgrading yourself every now and then, because it's easier for the artist to become bigger than you, the manager, let me say. So for you to also still maintain the level of respect that you deserve, you will have to upgrade yourself at the time. I mean, get a contact to reach out to him. I have to reach out to somebody from Sony before, you understand? So I have to upgrade myself and be ahead of the artist. Otherwise, there's going to be a time where the artist feels like, I'm a top boy. I don't need a certain George, to help me, because I want to play my own show at Madison Square. Who does George know? Doesn't know anybody. You understand? So for me to still be the artist, after him achieving a global success, my contact should also be up there for us to keep it running.
Wow. Kiwa?
So I share the same sentiment with all of them. Just I believe that, like he said, over and over, knowledge is necessary for growth. And so the more you grow, you ought to grow in knowledge and wisdom and understanding also. And so it's easy to acquire knowledge lately. You just go on the internet, you want to understand how to do this and how to do this. Very simple. And also there are very great resource people you can always contact for help. You understand? And so I believe that by and large, you have to upgrade yourself to show yourself approved. Otherwise, you'll be left behind. I don't know whether I'm making sense.
Yes, I do. So with the artists you worked with, did you seek or did you employ the services of professionals to manage them? Did you manage them yourself? Or, well, you just deployed Andy Dusty and his friends who were family members to manage for you?
Well, I'm a very poor manager. So what I do is that with every artist I sign, I make sure that they have their management team, or he has his management team. That comprises of a road manager and then a manager who seeks to look at the general overview of the artist's well-being and where he ought to go to and where he doesn't have to go to. And so it's not, I can't do that. And usually you will attest to the fact that I speak with you often, and not only you, but major media people. I speak with you for knowledge and understanding so that we can build the artist also, yes.
I think the needs of every artist, given whatever stage they are at in their career, would be different. And it's not just restricted to Ghana, but it's pretty normal that an artist who is just starting out would usually have a friend or a family member step in to try and manage their affairs. Because, I mean, let's be honest, we have a lot of artists who still have a lot of figuring out to do. I mean, many are not even certain whether they want to do this full-time, or for real. And you find people like that wanting to have a team. You see, there was one thing that kept being repeated over and over. I'll put it in a different way. The most important thing any artist can have in this day and age is not talent. Talent is the second thing. The first thing is a plan, yes. Because we've seen artists who are not talented make it big simply because they had a plan and were willing to follow it through and find the right persons to. Now, I'm big on artist development personally, okay? And some people might find this very controversial, but I think in this part of the world, talent is overrated, especially undeveloped talent. It's like gold. If you see gold that hasn't gone through like the process of refinement, you might mistaken it, you might think it's maybe an eraser or something. You don't have any use for it. It has to go through a furnace, it has to go through specific processes before it becomes a valuable asset that we recognize gold to be. You see, so I think every artist needs a plan, and at various stages, happenstance and deliberate business decisions will attract the right persons to you. I'll give a classic example. In this part of the world, unfortunately, we have a lot of structures that don't necessarily work the way they ought to. So you would see instances where you have an artist's manager who's financially responsible for an artist. It never happens anywhere. When you become financially responsible for an artist, you are an executive producer because you are acting as a label. So you're actually doing two things at the same time. You're managing an artist and you're being their executive producer, which at some point might be a conflict of interest. But I can't stress on the importance of an astute or a highly skilled and knowledgeable artist manager. But most importantly, what we fail to realize is a manager is actually an employee of the artist because they get paid based on commissions and percentages that the artist makes. So why would an artist who isn't ready yet, who isn't fully developed, walk to me to tell me to manage them when they have a lot of figuring out to do? I'll be wasting my time. Because if for whatever reason I push the artist in a specific direction, after 4 years of working with them and they say, Charlie Kofi, my bread, now, Saturday we mean to be the joke's on me. Do you see where I'm coming from? So I think sometimes we need to cut our coats according to our size, okay? And once you level up, once you scale up, and also there are instances where you have family members, you have friends working with artists, and the more they navigate, the ever-evolving landscape, they realize that they don't have the requisite knowledge required to fulfill the task at hand. Then they have to take a step back, find somebody to fill that position, or they have to step up to actually learn the business, which is very important. I can't stress on the importance of this because, we are dealing with intellectual property. Recently, there was news making the rounds about Obrafour's, bits of Obrafour's song, being sampled on a Drake record, for instance, you see. So I had lots of questions, okay? I know Hammer, I know Obrafour, the legendary Obrafour, and of course, I think it was Manche's voice, Manche Aikwe, who was, and in Ghana back in the day, sorry, I'm not digressing, but this is a very important conversation we need to have. You'd have situations where albums would be produced and they will sell the rights to executive producers or distributors, either in perpetuity or for a certain number of years. Now, if that happens, in the event that somebody samples your music, that's like 22 years after. To clear a sample, you have to clear on the songwriter's side or the publishing side and the master, which is the recording of that song. So if you don't own the recording, how do you go about this? So if you're an artist and you create music and your manager is not aware of these things, and you do not have access to a legal counsel who knows about how these things work to advise you to make the right decisions, you're screwed. You see, so it comes full circle. I don't know if I answered your question.
That's it. Right. With a manager, so supposing the person managing is just a family member who is not a professional, then it means this conversation is not going anywhere.
But you see, where there's a will, there's always a way. It's one of my favorite sayings. You'll be surprised at the number of professionals you might have access to who are willing to dish out information or to help you even for free if you do not have the funds. Or you need someone who is business savvy. You see, we have different types of capital. Money is one. There are other types of capital. You can do favors for people, or you can work professionally for someone to have them share proprietary knowledge with you. It's a form of payment. Not everything equates to money, okay? You need to have something of value. I'll give you a classic example. Panjianov, he's a producer engineer in Ghana, and he said how someone told King Aisoba that he could record and produce his music for him. And he used to come around the house almost every other day, continuously for like 2 years. And Panji said really he wasn't that much bothered. But the guy was willing to do anything. If he had to, have his part of his house swept, he would sweep. If he had to wash his car, he would wash the car. Until one day, I think he had a session with an artist who didn't show up. And was like, something, you cry, sing one of your songs for me. And he was blown away. And that's how that relationship worked. So sometimes you don't have to give up. You have to be relentless. But most importantly, you need to have a plan. Where do you want to be a year from now, 5 years from now. Now, I'm going to leave with this. It's so easy to take certain things for granted when it's applied to creative practices or creative people. Like, I'll find it very inappropriate, but normal. If I have a leaking problem in my house, I call a plumber, he shows up without a wrench and says, boss, me to say, now what spanner and pliers be na farmer I mean fa. You understand? It's fairly normal, you know. You'd have a carpenter come to your house and he wants to use your ladder, but he knew he was going to work on the roof, you know. How would you feel if you had a medical emergency and there was a doctor, a medical doctor, who did not have or know how to use their own stethoscope? We will write volumes about it on Facebook. We'll talk about these things. So we have normalized an attitude of carrying titles without necessarily having the pressures of being responsible for the titles we carry in the creative space, okay? That being said, you have a child who goes to school, basic, goes to primary, goes to JHS, goes to senior high. Perhaps they study something of some scientific significance. They decide to further their education. They go to a polytechnic or a university, and they decide, okay, I want to be a medical doctor. And that person goes to a medical school in the university, studies non-stop for 6 years. After that 6 years, they are a qualified doctor, but they can't practice. They have to do some kind of pupillage, right? With a renowned doctor or something to understudy them for another 2 years. I'm saying this to make a point. How many of us in the creative space actually take time to understand the ins and outs of what it takes for us to be considered professionals in our field? Every single second of every minute, of every hour, of every day, of every week, of every month, of every year, how much of your waking moments are you dedicating to improving your skill and your knowledge as a professional? That's a question I'm leaving to us all here.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'll soon engage. You have a question? Please use the microphone. Thank you.
Bitmenes,
Yes,
you
sir.
spoke about talent,
Yes.
especially the raw ones.
Yes.
When you spoke about
Yes.
good.
Yes.
You are very familiar with some of my talents,
Yes.
especially those ones I struggled with. Say,
Yes.
I spent 3 years with somebody. I walked to this person, I met this person, I saw the person is very talented. I tried to convince everybody around me that this person is very talented.
Right.
But they also demand of me to bring something on board, show that this person is worth it. Others try, they invest, it didn't go the way we want. Others come aboard, they try again. What would be your advice for me, who is spending my lifespan on that person and with that person's career, so to say? Because, you know, there were things you spoke to us about regarding about the person not too sure, is that what the person wants, and the plan and all those stuff. But there are times I've written documents, because I can tell you sincerely, I'm a graduate of School of Creative Arts. And when it comes to creative art, if I don't know anything at all, at least I studied for it. I've been under tutelage of people like George Britton and others. I've tried to study it. I've tried to invest in it. I've tried to make it a point to come to things like this. Last year I was here. This year, I can say if I'm not the first person, I'm one of the first people who are here just to make myself available, in part, in somebody's life. How does it make sense to me in my life?
In order for me to answer your question, I want to ask you a question. Is the artist you're working with worth it? The juice has to be worth the squeeze.
I think that the talent is worth it, because anytime I wake up, I see that talent, it's still fresh as day one. But
so they are equally as hungry for success as you want them to be successful.
That I can't say.
No, then that will always beat talent when talent does not work hard. I've been blessed and privileged to work with one of the best female vocalists in this country. Many of you here may have never heard her name. Now she's somewhere in London. She's a housewife with 2 kids. It works out for her. This lady will sing, and in a matter of split seconds, she will make the hairs on the back of your neck stand out. Stand up, sorry. But the thing is, you can't be hungrier for somebody's success more than they should. There's a saying that you can walk a horse to the river, but you can never force it to drink of the water. Let me tell you something. You see, you can have someone who was born with talent, who doesn't have to work as hard to attain a certain level. But practice always makes perfect. Okay? You can also have somebody who is talent. No, here's the thing. Everybody is talented. Question is in what? Okay? I don't want to sound deep. No, it's fact. I mean, come on, man. I mean, if you know how humans procreate, we give birth. Like they say, what, 50,000 or is it 5 million sperm swim? One fertilizes the egg.
That I don't know.
Yeah, you understand? So it means everybody who is born, whether you're fully healthy, whether you're a fully healthy individual or you have some health deficiency or challenge, you are the sperm and the egg that actually won. So you're a winner. Can I hear an amen? So, personally, in my vocabulary, exactly about 8-9 years ago, I stopped thinking about potential. It doesn't exist to me. Because the moment you have breath, you have potential. Question is, what are you doing with it? So I won't wake up with my limited time, my limited resources. Charlie, we are counting down till the day we die. We are all living on borrowed time. So I'm not going to waste my time to some dimwit who feels entitled to my time when they're bringing nothing to the table, but wishful thinking, vibes, and inshallah. I'm sorry. It's not worth it. Do you understand what I'm saying? So spend your time on people who are absolutely worth it. You might not reap the benefits today. Somebody will say, Charlie, what's the need? Why is it important to plant a tree? Why build a house? Maybe by the time you finish the house, if you don't build the house, then you die. So for build. It doesn't make sense. You need to find people who are absolutely worth your time. I personally prefer to lose money than to lose time, because if you have time and you're smart, you can make money. So that's your answer.
Well, questions are now open. Questions are now open, so if you want to ask, yes, Kwame, please get close. Questions are now open, so you can, the microphones are, as usual, one to the left, the other to the right. Kwame, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. My name is Kwame Dazi. I work with City FM, City TV, and GhanaWeekend.com. This is my question, and it goes to any of the panel members. In order of importance, where would you place artist PR in the artist management team structure? How important is this to the artist? Because I've seen and realized that most of our artists don't have PR machinery, and even those who have, they don't know how to use it. So over to you.
Right. Francis, please.
Well, I think PR is important in everything, but most especially in creative arts. Okay, but I don't think that we can place that above the management structure of the artist. First of all, there must be people who understand, as we have said earlier, the business of what we're doing. And if they do properly understand the business of running a music brand, then they will know what to do around it as far as PR is concerned. I think that we have seen before artists who have tried some means to do PR. Some of them pretended or failed certain accidents. Some of them want to say that there's something very grievous happening to them, which ended up not being. And so it ended up being a failed PR. So if you have a management, I believe, that properly understands that PR must be proper PR, and all the things that you do around the artist must leave to tell the story of the person, then they would, in my view, choose the right PR machinery to use. So, first of all, the management of the artist must be good enough, understand the industry that they are in. Just as I mentioned, if you were in football or any other sport, they must understand that sport, that industry very well. So I'll place the management ahead of a proper PR, because if the management understand what they're doing, then they would also understand what way to communicate the artists to the public, I believe. George?
Yeah, sorry. Well, I think, of course, you need a good management team, and then you need to attach it with PR. You need to attach it with PR, reasons being that, the management, we can do all the skirmishes to get a song to blow, but what the PR does, especially for the artist, is to put his image out there, and I feel like every artist needs...
Well, do you have any contribution to that? All right, good. Kofi? Yes. Again, I will ask one more. So I would want you to combine that. Could PR also help an artist to be successful?
Absolutely. I think good management and PR are equally as important, especially in our digital landscape. So it's a double-edged answer to Kwame Dadzi's question. But I think the needs may vary from artist to artist again. Because if you go crazy on a PR, you can create an image that's actually bigger than the artist, and that can become a problem. When an artist doesn't grow, so basically you have an artist who, if you liken the stature or the level of the artist's skill, or how far they're developed, if you liken it to an individual, so if that artist is like a toddler who's still crawling and does some walking, but not confidently enough, and you have crazy PR machinery back to back, you blow that artist out of proportion to a point where they become seemingly successful, and for them to replicate that success over and over again might become problematic, and that can actually kill the artist's career. So having the wisdom and the compass to know in what ratio you need to apply certain things, I think it varies from artist to artist. If you take an artist like Wizkid, for instance, he keeps putting out hits after hit. He's nearly like, at every stage, every single thing was calculated and planned to a certain level. And then, an announcement is made. Then he outdoes something he did prior. And then so on and so forth. So there's that incremental growth. Even though the growth is exponential, you can actually track, the growth like that. So there are instances where you have artists who just, it's not much different from people who become viral sensations and then have difficulty keeping up with that level of success. But it's a catch-22 for me. But I do think PR is super, super important in this day and age, because it's so easy to get drowned in the noise.
Right. Any further question? All right, Caleb, yes. We have just about 10 minutes to wrap up, sir.
Hi, good evening. So this I would want to give to Kewa and George, and it's got to do with the role of traditional media in music promotion, especially where you and I know social media seems to be the order of the day, and you would agree with me that some few days ago, a social media influencer has sat on a platform and made some comment about they being the board of directors and we being the... So please, George, because you are in there directly, and Kewa, because I know you manage artists too, I just want to get your opinion on this, the role of traditional media in music promotion now in Ghana. Thank you.
Shall I go first? I think it's still high. Let me use this as examples. A clear example is Sugarcane, right? When the song was released on the 19th of November 2021, before the song came out, what I do is I reach out to the DJs, give them the songs. Let's say 3, some are probably a week to the song release date. And when that was done, almost every DJ or radio friends that I had, had the songs. With Sugarcane, the The beautiful thing it did for us was that it started blowing from Tamale before it came to Accra. Now, somewhere in December, the song was picking up in Tamale by the radio that was being played there. And of course, it got support from, a few other stations and radio platforms across the nation. Now, in January, we decided to engage the services of, social media influencers and all these guys. So, in our case, not just Camilo's case, everybody that I've worked with in the past, radio or traditional media has played a huge role. Whether the song is being played, whether we have a song released or not, we are very much engaging these guys because, trust me, when you travel the length and breadth of the country, not everybody's on social media. And it's not easy for you to get your song into some places. So what radio did for us was that after, radio got playing, we went back to the back end and realized that places like Duaya Kwanta, Brown, Forsyth, and all these places, we're getting calls from there because when the song was picking up, I had to make available Camido to do interviews on most of these radio stations in these regions where they would do phone in, and it was consistent. So most people got to know the song through the radio, and as well as, heard the artist first. So with me, traditional media is key. Not saying that social media didn't equally play a role. I mean, in this day and age, it's 50-50. You need social media as much as you need traditional media, especially in Takoradi. What I realized in Takoradi is that they listen to radio a lot. So you cannot do promotion in Takoradi without using radio. So in today's day and age, traditional media plays a massive role.
Well, on our side too, what we usually do is that we make sure we go hand in hand. It's like the regular Ghanaian saying, when something new comes, you tend to forget the old one. We started with high life music, palm wine music, but into high life music, boga, high life music, all those kind of music came. And you realize that when something new comes, the usual Ghanaian mentality is that the old is past. And we tend to downgrade and we tend to even insult the old. But what we do is that we go for all, especially print media. All right, and so for us, we don't just go for social media because we believe that the traditional one is expired. No, it's still there. And so we combine all of that.
So Andy, just to add a bit to that, I think that it is important to know that there are about almost 18 million people who listen to radio, in Ghana, out of the 30 million people. About 14 million, television has a reach of about 14 million, and the highest reach you could make for people on the internet is not even up to 10 million. So you will be cutting off a lot of people if you think that because of the influence of social media now or the internet now, therefore you'd only use that platform to reach your audience. You'll be cutting off a lot of people who may be on other platforms. So it's important for music artists and managers, producers to know that you cannot totally leave out what we call traditional media. It's as important as the new media that we have. I mean, George, for instance, throughout the period that he's worked with Camido, there have been many times that we have connected that he wants to use radio, he wants to use TV for interviews, for shows, on TV that will keep Camido's name as good. And as he mentioned, even time traditional media to properly connect with the people. And I think many use that as much as possible, knowing that in Ghana, if we talk as we are now, other markets may have their own way, but in our market, for you to be very relevant, you need to use certain medium. And radio is a very important medium for relevance, as TV is for awareness, in this market.
Okay, I think I would like to add this before your question. I think the danger, yes, the song will be very popular without you getting known. And I think I experienced it, even when we went to Nigeria to promote Camido's music. Usually, when I go into an environment, I want to see how the people react. When a song is playing, everybody's singing along. But but the musician works in their reaction, and I realized that okay, we had to do more. So we started with the TV, radio, even though it was not enough.
Your own thing. You just have to keep pushing, keep listening to advice, keep seeking for advice also, but keep pushing. It's very important, and I believe that it can help. I know a lot of artists who are not under any record label or nobody's helping them, but they're out there very good. Yeah.
Right.
I think he said.
Okay.
Okay, just to correct your brother, sure. He said either indie artist or new artist. I mean, indie artist doesn't necessarily mean it's a new artist. I'm sure Sakura is an independent artist. Likewise, Shatawale and all these guys. So being an independent artist doesn't mean you're a new artist, but probably you're doing your own thing, yeah.
Okay,
yes, sir.
Andy and the rest of the panel, thank you very much. The first time I introduced myself.
The way you mentioned our names, I thought you were going to say, Andy and the rest of the panel, I have some thousands for you.
All right, we'll talk about that later. I introduced myself earlier on during the first session. My name is Stephen Forsen. I mentioned Pro Solutions because then we're talking about technology. I'm also CEO of Create Concept and Create Music. I work with a couple of artists and that. My question goes, first of all, primarily to George. But anyone else can also take it after George so that we can all share ideas. This is a very good guy. Let's say, in our space here, the structures are not like we have it out there where you can see the executive, producer at the top, and then there's a manager, and the rest of the, the road management. Sometimes you start the work. For myself, I started the label, and I had to, try my best to work with the artist. I want to understand the work. So sometimes when the artist is going out, you are part of it. You are moving. I see what George is. People to easily make friends. I tend to easily, speak to people. But you are managing an artist who is not like you, who is sometimes to themselves, and sometimes your personality overshadows that of the artist. I'm sure probably, George, you can understand this. And do you sometimes feel your personality overshadows that of your artist? And when you go out there, people tend to sometimes want to talk to you more than your artist whom you are relevance, that's the personality of the manager, and then the personality of the artist.
Okay.
So if you have that kind of personality as a manager, do you sometimes, is it good for you to sometimes also stay back and then push the artist to go alone, probably?
Yeah, right. So I think the reason why I'm probably out there is not because I want to be out there. I've been in the industry for 17 good years. And within the 17 good years, I'm sure I know quite a number of the faces here in GhanaMusic.com. So everybody was my friend. And I've actually been part of everybody's team, including LG. They've come to me before. So what I do is, I give my best when I'm dealing with anybody else. Now, come to me being popular than the artist, I think I realized that Camido, I'll say probably 2 or 3 years in the industry. It's not well known. So what I do is, when I go to my socials, people come out and ask me, why do I post him more than I post myself? What I do is that on my socials, it's always Camido telling. But the reason why when we come to places like this, I get noticed is because I've served bosses like, Francis, Kiwa, Kofi, and I have been speaking for years. The first time I went to the club, it was an industry playing. So you can imagine the number of people in the industry that I know. Someone like Camido and most young talent, they are new.
Stop making me look so old.
Huh? Or it happened in Kumasi, somewhere in Asokwa, some club like that, yeah. So what it is that I've realized that most people will mention, oh, George. So if you want to go for an event, they want to interview me. But instead, I'd rather push Camido. So I think we are blessed to have Sugar King so that everybody knows that, oh, that's a superstar. Yeah.
Has a specific skill set or set of skills they may not necessarily be a performer. They might to take center stage, to draw attention. So maybe they are the person who is supposed to be behind another artist or writing out their hit songs for them. That's one way to look at it. The second way to look at it is, I did mention something about artist development. If you study the music business, you'd realize that proper record label structures are made in such a way that you have something called a finishing department. So this artist you speak about, if the nature of the music they do is pop, remember we are in show business. If you are not the entertainer, but you happen to have more the tenacity to be
that is from if the artist is a hip hop or a reggae artist, you know, and all that. I think it depends also on the area where that is and how you groom them to interface with the public.
Well, time is not on our side. It's time for us to wrap up. Okay. So if you can make your questions snappy. Sure.
God.
Half of the everything Holy Ghost, and understand that you are in a certain space where you're projecting and pushing the same agenda as the artist who is not a gospel artist. And so you need the same technical do. Unfortunately for the gospel, some of the gospel, let me be very politically correct, and all that, to push the agenda. I tell you this, when we're coming up, I saw Kojo Entry do a show in the National Theatre when it came fresh. And he booked 2 days. One day, maybe the Saturday for sound check, and then the Sunday for the main event. The gospel artists would...
All right, and I know that this... Which one, please? The template. Okay, right. Thank you. I have not forgotten that. So let's bundle that. Let's put them all in one basket. Today is World Music Day. Yes, today is World Music Day, and here I want us all to give it up for our musicians in Ghana. Yeah, thank you. We've come far. We've done well. At the world stage, can we boast of our music? Ghana, this is our music. At the world stage, can we boast of our music? I want us to wrap up with that. Thank you.
I'm first. Am I first?
It doesn't matter.
Well, I think that we're doing well. We have improved on ourselves. I mean, let's say time was when our music, High Life, was reverberating all across the world, thanks to some very strong bands and artists like Osibisa and others, E.T. Mensah, who took our music very far. I would say that there was a time also when our music went down a little. We were only within our own circles. I mean, even those of our artists who go outside to play, they play within the Ghanaian, communities, as much as possible. And I think that over the last few years, our young people are improving. They're pushing things a bit further, pushing the envelopes further.
Has happened in our case for the past 5 years. As we've seen the likes of the Kiddies, the Kwame Eugenes, Drew, Promise. These guys are equally amassing numbers. These guys are equally moving into spaces that where other guys are going, they have the fans. If we had the fans there are some artists that I know after being signed on to some labels, their CD money was about $5 million. Whereas in our case, we have to be playing Sawam Sohum, gather the money to do what they are doing. So I think with the little that we have, we are doing so well. If some of us, and looks like the conversation is changing a bit because now the DSPs and all these guys are coming to Ghana, to speak to us, and they're offering us good money. And if we keep working hard, that means that the good money is going to become better money. When it becomes better money, we can take some of this money and also, throw Ghana music all over the world. But before that, we are still doing well. I think in the last 10 years, we've done amazing. There's no way in Nigeria you go and ask you about Shatawale, Stoneboy, Sako, Kidi, and all these guys. So that means that we are still making an impact. It might not be giant, but we are still making a move.
Thank you. Sure.
Well, on the contrary, I think that the saying that goes like this: the fewer, the merrier. I don't know whether I've said it right, but I believe that once we are not too many, we can do it together. Okay, now let me explain to you. I believe that we are doing very well out there, just that we are not appreciating it ourselves. So our problem is home issue. We have to bring ourselves to the place where we start appreciating who we are and where we have come. I don't believe in comparison. I have not, you see, this creative space, we have been taught that it is, we are in a competitive zone. It's a space that we are competing with each other. And so, but I've always believed that music is a mission and not a competition. All right? If we can all go together. If 1 million in Lagos alone and we are 4,000 in the whole, we can help each other. But we don't love ourselves. Our prayer is to see another musician go down so you can go up.
I like that.
All right? And that is the narrative. You understand what I'm saying? But it will start originally from our orientation, what we were taught when we came up. And I believe that the entire nation has to go through another orientation. Orientation is positioning. We have to reposition the entire nation to understand that the creative art, where we find ourselves, is not for dropouts. All right? It's not for people who are trying to. Because our educational background, or not even a background, but our school system is not even favoring us. I mean, from JSS, you want to go to secondary school, you need to, when we say a science student is the one who has all the A's, or the general arts and the business is the middle, the bomb, and visual arts. Yet, that is where the creative abilities are. When I told my father that I wanted to be a sound engineer, I received a slap. And after the slap, he said, listen to this. I have heard of mechanical engineer, chemical engineer. He mentioned all the engineers. What is sound engineer? To his knowledge, sound engineer is where we find ourselves. And we have to be very truthful to ourselves. That until we bring ourselves to the place of self-love, self-understanding that what we carry is not something normal, it can help us to project us to the next space we want to get to. Otherwise, we will still stay where we are.
Right. Thank you very much. Kofi, please wrap it all up for us.
Man, I don't know what to say. I mean, Kewa said it all. How many of you have heard of Rim Kwekuba? Please show by hand if you know that name. Rim Kwekuba, Guy Warren, or Kofi Ganaba, Osibisa, Saka Akwe, Joe Mensa. Now, these are just a few of a long list of names I can name drop. I mean, I beg to differ. I think we've regressed. But this is the perfect time for us to claim our space globally. Some of the names I've mentioned are the reason we even listen or have certain genres of music in the world today. Media has made an appearance, quite a number of people, but happened. I think, and I don't believe in the whole population argument. If not, Jamaica wouldn't be relevant. Reggae wouldn't shape literally every genre of music in the world
today. Jamaica is less
today.
than 3 million. The population is 2-point-something million.
You know? Now, this is, I said something in a Twitter space, and during lockdown on Clubhouse, we had a similar virtual conversation such as this. And I was telling someone how pre-COVID, specifically in 2019, the most popular Ghanaian song in neighboring Benin was VIP's Ahum Kaum. That song was released in 2002. Why? Because we do not believe in promotion. This same VGMAs awarded Fancy Gadam a few years ago. People were crying foul, but this guy was selling out stadia up north. Why can't we consolidate that sort of success? 2020 was the year of the